There's writing on the walls, broken frames and memories too. If only I could trade it all for a single glimpse of you. For a single glimpse of you.
So Steve, the reason that you're here today at Side Street Studio is to talk about something that happened to you several years ago. You're how old now?
48?
52.
52, okay, sorry.
That's okay. That's part of the story,
Okay.
and there's nothing to be uncomfortable about. 4 years ago, when you were 47 or 48, you received a diagnosis.
Yes.
That changed your life, and that diagnosis was early-onset
Yeah.
Alzheimer's disease. So, how did that diagnosis change your life?
Messed up everything at home. It's crazy.
It is crazy to think that at such a young age that someone who's raising a family, right? You have a wife and 2 children. Tell me a little bit about them.
What they're doing now?
What's your wife's name?
Kathy,
And your children?
Anna, and Andrew.
And how old are they? Anna's just entering college, right?
Yes.
And
That's right.
Andrew is in high school? Or about to be in high school?
No. I don't remember.
My name is Steve One. I'm an engineer, father, husband, Christian, sports guy. I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease at age of 50. Had to stop working. Alzheimer's disease has impaired my communication skills.
Just for a definition of the disease, Alzheimer's disease is one form of dementia. There's many different types of dementia. Alzheimer's is just one. And Alzheimer's disease affects memory, but it also affects thinking, and it can also affect behavior. Alzheimer's disease is a disease of the brain. Currently, there's about 5.4 million Americans that have the disease, and young onset means having the disease before the age of 65. And as we've seen, Steve was diagnosed at the age of 50, which is a lot younger. Typically, when somebody has it when they're younger and they have Alzheimer's disease, the symptoms seem to progress a little bit more rapidly. And we can see that in Steve with his communication difficulties.
Steve, we met earlier today.
Yeah, good
How
to
are
see
you?
you.
Yeah, good to see you. Alright, so how long ago did this whole ordeal happen? 5-6 years ago?
48.
You were 48, and now you're 52?
Yes.
Okay, very cool. How did that impact the family situation?
Terrible.
Terrible. Like, did you know a couple years ahead of time? Did it start to wear down on you?
No, I was just in my office. I had an admin person, my bosser, and some other people. So.
Did they come to you? They came to you and said something?
Kinda, but so this would happen once in a while. I would try to to try to pick up to someone in the office, and I forgot what I was doing there. So I waited, I went back and tried to do it again, or do something different.
So did you start to notice that something was off?
Yeah, starting, yeah.
So then did you go to a doctor and they told you right away what was going on? Did it take a little while?
It takes a while.
Took
It
a while.
takes a while, yeah.
How was that in between period? Were you still working?
It's the worst test I had in my life. It was 5 years, five
Months.
5 months, thank you, yes. And it was ugly.
Love, come save me. I'm awake and fading. Are you with me? I am still here waiting.
I guess what the family noticed initially was the communication problems. Two words being put together, like the beginning of one word, the end of another word. It didn't make sense in context. We realized something was happening there, but Steve had said prior to that, he had noticed having challenges at work. Multitasking, he's a chemical engineer by trade, being able to manage all of his job responsibilities. So, but he hadn't expressed that to me. So then he went just for an annual checkup, and the doctor later told me he recognized at that point that something was wrong with Steve, and it's a fairly young doctor. He's probably in his late 30s. And so he suggested Steve have an MRI, looking at multiple sclerosis as a possibility, to what was wrong. But the MRI didn't show anything. So then we had a intellectual functioning testing done, and he scored very low on it. Maybe the highest score on some of the subtests was at a 3%. His IQ was below 70. So they knew that based on his going to college and being a chemical engineer, you had to have at least an average IQ, which would have been 100. And so now he's below 70, which is intellectually delayed. And so the doctor wanted us then to go and see a specialist to look at early onset Alzheimer's.
Spending days waiting for a diagnosis that is already confirmed in your mind. Confirmation is almost a relief, but only for a few seconds, until the realization hits you. Early onset Alzheimer's. 3 words to describe the monster that was facing my father and my family.
So we got referred immediately to the Bird Institute, which I think because of Steve's age, that's why things progressed as quickly as they did. Just hearing from older people that have been diagnosed aren't always referred to specialists like at the Bird Institute. And so we went, they did a PET scan. Is that right? A PET scan? Yeah. And that's when, after looking at that, they were able to diagnose him with early onset. And in a way, it was a relief because we had a name to what was wrong. And just prior to that, Steve was in a situation at work where he thought they were going to probably fire him, right? And he immediately said, I've got a problem. So he hadn't told them at work about what was wrong because we really didn't know. And told them that I'm getting tested, and so he couldn't do things. He couldn't walk around the plant anymore. They put some security measures in place for him, and then we just waited for the diagnosis, and then he immediately stopped working after that.
I met Steve and Kathy after they attended a support group at one of the facilities that hosts our groups here in Lakeland. And they were referred to my office because we run early stage programs. One is called BASE, Beginning Alzheimer's Support and Education. And I think we hit it off right away. And I actually was really surprised when I heard the diagnosis was Alzheimer's disease, because Steve's primary symptom that you see is his communication skills. And typically with early stage Alzheimer's disease or younger onset, at least I haven't seen the communication be as impacted as it was with Steve. So this experience for me has been a learning process, just seeing that the disease does affect people a little bit differently. It's not always, you know, short-term memory loss that you see primarily as the primary symptom that comes out. So, and I know you went to the birth center and got a really clear diagnosis for Steve, and they diagnosed him, and they even told you that he could still drive. He had a driving test, and Steve currently is still driving.
Right.
And you guys are periodically evaluating that.
Right. I try weekly to ride with him in the car to make sure that he's still safe. And
how was that driving test? And maybe we should get Steve to talk about that too, because I like Steve's story of the driving test. I think the driving test is interesting. Would you want to talk about the driving test?
Sure.
Because I love it when he says, yeah, I drove to the driving test.
oh, over in Clearwater.
Yeah.
The guy said, you passed because you got over here.
Yeah. Steve drove to his driving test.
I love my daughter, and she's smart. She doesn't go crazy very much. Sometimes.
You mean she might overreact? Okay, that's
Yeah.
what he means.
So she's smart, and she can do anything you want to.
When I found out about my dad's diagnosis, I was angry, but I didn't want to show it. Out of selfishness, I questioned what I had done to deserve this burden. I put on a good face, attempting to expel it from my mind as much as possible when I was at school, practice, and out with my friends. His disability became a secret I kept, and I still do to this day.
I would like Andrew to try to more,
To what more?
get more,
Do more.
what he's doing, whatever, and be to people that get better.
You mean, okay, he wants to be a physical therapist. Is that what you're
No,
talking about?
I'm just talking. That's separate.
Okay.
Okay, like what he's doing right now, right?
Mhm.
Okay. I think Andrew could get a lot much more if he wanted to do little things and be people that are stopped or they go a little farther. That's what I'm trying. I forgot all the.
To keep, do you mean, you don't mean baseball, you just mean in life in general?
Yeah.
To not settle for whatever, just to keep
Yeah.
pursuing something
Yeah.
more for himself.
He should do that.
Keep striving.
Right. We think, like, he wants to be a physical therapist. He's very smart. He could be a sports medicine doctor. So we're trying to head him in that direction.
Okay.
So keep the picture big. Always
Right.
strive for the bigger picture.
Right. And see, this is probably why we don't communicate a lot, because who really, when you're busy and you have children, you don't have time to sit down, or you don't take the time, I should say, especially during the week, to try to figure out this communication piece. You know?
Yeah.
So in our home, it just gets quieter and quieter and quieter. And Steve tends to isolate himself in his office, where he's more comfortable and has that darn 27-year-old TV that I tried to get. I bought him last summer a big flat screen TV. We were waiting for the TV to die. That's kind of how we do things in our house. We're going to keep it as long as it's working. Well, I had it scheduled. The guys were going to take away that old TV that is so heavy to carry, and it's, anyway. That's the drawback. He had friends through work, but not, close friends where they would do things, because we have our friends at work, but when we come home, we do family stuff. And since our family's all in Missouri, we don't have any family close to us. So that was one drawback, that when he had to come home from work, he just doesn't have that network of friends anymore that he had when he would go to work. And now the plant has closed, so they're gone to different parts of the country. So he did stay in touch with them for about 1.5 years, and would go and see them and all. But about. When Steve the kids knew at the time Anna was she would have been a sophomore in high school. No, maybe, yeah, sophomore. And Andrew was in 7th grade. And they knew that something was wrong with Steve and that we were trying to go to figure out what was wrong. And when we found out, when he was diagnosed, I sat down and we told the kids, we're very open about what's going on and what to expect. Why are you laughing? From the situation. And Andrew's response was, is Dad still going to be able to drive me to baseball games? And Anna was, I just want to get through with high school and get away to college, so she wouldn't have to deal with it.
So Steve and his wife attended the BASE group, Beginning Alzheimer's Support and Education program. And he met a lot of friends and learned a lot. So education, but also gaining support through peers is important. Do you miss engineering?
Well, because the places I worked, they didn't do much. Like I only probably maybe 10 things.
Like 10 job responsibilities?
Yeah. And so no big deal. Because but I went from Houston to a different place to do different things. And so most of it I didn't use it off.
Right.
Do you regret not getting that policy for Steve before his diagnosis?
Yes. We had talked about getting policies for each of us, but thought we would wait maybe till we were 55, 56 years old. We just thought 50 was too early to have to invest that. I don't know how much it is, let's say $3,000 a year for each policy. So I wish that we had done that, because now I'll have to pay that out of pocket. And
pay what?
Pay for him to go when it's time that he needs to go into a nursing care facility, which we've decided that that's what he wants to do. We've gone through what was that book on your 10 wishes or something, that he does not want to be at home when it's too difficult to manage him at home. That we'll have to pay the monthly fee for that care. But with my policy that I have now, then it would be taken care of a majority of the fee through that policy.
How do you plan on paying for long-term care or the nursing home care?
Okay, well, we have, through Steve's work, he had long-term disability, so we get, it pays 67% of his income that he made prior to his being, or having to leave work. So we will be using that to pay for it, because I plan on working beyond his life expectancy, because I'm going to need something to do to keep me occupied, and I'm still young enough that I could do that. So that's our plan.
Love, come save me. I'm awake and fading. Are you with me? I am still here waiting. Love, come save me. I'm awake and fading. Are you with me? You are still here waiting for me. Save me, I'm awake and fading. Are you with me? can fit in. Are you with me? You are still here